Hello everyone, Lytro Storm here, and today we'll be finishing off the Frieza arc of What If Goku Never Hit His Head. So as per normal, let's recap the last part for you. Of course, if you want all the details, as well as what happened to get us to that point, please watch the other 4 parts. The links will be in the description and the comments section. But anyway, last time, our group of Kakarot, Piccolo, Kami, and Krillin came to Namek. Raditz was forced back into the Frieza Force, and teamed up with Vegeta to rebel. They all got massively stronger over the arc, and eventually fought Frieza. Piccolo fused with Nail and lost to the Emperor along with everyone else. At the end of the last part, Piccolo and Kakarot needed to be healed by Dende and Kami, but both Namekians were blasted by Frieza. This killed Dende and left Kami barely alive. Krillin gave Kakarot a Senzu Bean as Vegeta also died, so that he could save Raditz. And Kami laid on the ground, struggling to move his hand. So now with the recap done, if you end up enjoying this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Less than half of my viewers are subscribed, so if you would, it would let me know that you want this series to continue. Plus, I also really want to hit 6,000 subscribers, so if you guys can make that happen, then that'd be great. But of course, I left you guys on a big cliffhanger, so I know you want to find out what happens. So as always, be sure to join my Discord and follow me on Twitter. Links in the description. So Kakarot managed to stall Frieza with his new power from the Zenkai boost and saves his brother's life. But moving back to Kami, the place he was moving his hand to was Piccolo's chest. The Guardian of Earth knew that if he were to die, Piccolo would die too. And by this point, if that happened, they would all lose. So he uses the remainder of his strength to fuse with Piccolo. As he does this, he thinks back on all of his memories, training Kakarot, raising Piccolo, congratulating Kakarot and surpassing him. He smiled as he finally became one with his other half. Piccolo would stand up, fully healed and stronger than ever. He thanked Kami in his head, and Krillin would ask if they could win now. Piccolo said that he wasn't sure, but he wasn't going to let all the Namekian sacrifices be in vain. Now I read all the comments, I know there was an abundance of you guys who wanted Kami to be the dominant host. However, I just don't see that happening. Kami by this point is much weaker than Piccolo since Piccolo fused with Nail, and also Piccolo just had an edge on him before that. Kami is smart enough to know that if he were to be the host, then he ultimately would not be strong enough to even stand up to Frieza. It would be almost no different from just letting them both die without fusing. Plus, on top of that, Piccolo is the next generation, and he's made a lot of mistakes in the past, and he's been trying to fix them, so this would be his final step. Overall, I just don't think it would make any sense from a story perspective, from Kami's perspective, or just using logic. But with that out of the way, let's just go back to the story. I just saw a lot of comments on it, so I figured I'd address it. The final Namekian would charge at Frieza, kicking him into the ground before pushing him into the dirt. He would jump up and then fire a powerful blast. He asked Kakarot and Raditz if they were alright, and they would say yes, although they were damaged. That's when the tyrant would stand up, laughing that a challenge had finally risen. He notes that Piccolo is the only Namekian now, asking what made him different from all the others he killed. Piccolo responds, "I'm not the only one. They live on within me. And the difference is that I'm not going to give you the chance." Frieza's face turns to anger before he is then elbowed in the gut and punched through a mountain. The others would be admiring how strong Piccolo has become, and Krillin would inform Kakarot that Kami had fused with him. The Saiyan would thank his former master, as Frieza returned once more. He began to get bodied by Piccolo again, but the Namekian realized that every time Frieza's downtime became smaller and smaller. He was powering up. There was no way he still had more power than this, he thought. He has to still be able to win. However, that is disproven when Frieza rushes at him. Piccolo blocks the first attack, but is hit in the face by the second. The group now realizes that even this wouldn't be enough, and so Krillin yells that they have to give him their energy. Both he and Raditz do so, being confused why Kakarot didn't join them. However, he stood strong, continuing to watch. Piccolo gained more strength, allowing for him to land a few more blows on Frieza, but it just wasn't enough. The Emperor boasted that he had now reached 50%, which began outdoing Piccolo at almost every turn. Eventually, the Namekian would let out his last attack, an explosive demon wave. Frieza would be hurt by this, but ultimately would charge at him, knocking the Namekian to the ground. The Emperor then walks toward the group. Now, how about the Saiyans come down here next? I want a second round. Raditz would say under his breath that he doesn't have any more powers since he gave it all to Piccolo, but Kakarot would step forward. He would tell Frieza that he had to pay for what he had done. Even though he knew that he didn't have the strength, he'll keep fighting until he dies. The tyrant would remark that that time will come soon, and begin bodying the Saiyan. Eventually, he would have Kakarot on the ground, and Piccolo would begin to stand once more. Frieza would stand on Kakarot's back, forcing his face into the ground with his other foot. He asks which of the three left he should kill, but the Saiyan just refuses to answer. As Piccolo yells and charges in with his final attack, the tyrant answers the question for himself. He moves out of the way of Piccolo before lifting Krillin into the air and blasting Piccolo through his back, piercing through his entire body and coming out the front. Krillin would then scream out as he was blown up. As Krillin died and Piccolo fell to the ground, Kakarot wasn't going to stand for this anymore. Frieza taunted him, saying that maybe Raditz should go next. But as he laughs, Kakarot slammed his fist into the ground, lifting himself up slowly. He finally stood with his hair beginning to spark, and Frieza heard the Saiyan's mutters of his death and how he was going to pay. And as he turned around, Kakarot began to transform. His hair turned gold and his body grew bigger. He then screamed out before looking Frieza in the eyes. He made one movement and Frieza was terrified, bracing for an attack. But the Saiyan had actually rushed toward his brother. He told Raditz to grab Piccolo and get to their ship. Bulma is in it, so he can sense it out. Raditz says alright, and Kakarot turns around. He tilts his head toward Raditz, saying, "I'm counting on you, brother." Raditz flies, grabbing the Namekian and heading toward the ship. Now it was just Kakarot and Frieza, the two strongest. The Saiyan told him just to power up to his maximum immediately. He didn't want to waste any time. Frieza saw this as foolish, but Kakarot knew that if he did it now, he wouldn't have to ask him later, which would mean that he would have less time to get cocky. Frieza would reach his maximum and Kakarot would then clash with him. However, unlike in canon, it was not a close fight in the slightest. Sure, Frieza would land some hits, but no blood was ever drawn from Kakarot. He easily defeated the Emperor, giving him no time to blow up Namek. Instead, when Frieza fired a full power blast, he shot back with his full power. This blast shredded through Frieza's, leading the Emperor to his demise. And after this, Kakarot reverted to his base form, flying after Piccolo and Raditz. He found them at the ship with Bulma, who was ready to take them all home. Because there was no Kami and no Earth Dragon Balls, this would be their only option. They couldn't bring everyone back, at least not yet. However, once Piccolo comes to, it seems like he has a plan. They then use the ship to get back to Earth, and about a month later they get to the lookout. Piccolo would then use his secret teachings from Kami to recreate Shenron. The dragon is summoned, and wishes everyone who died on Namek back to life. Because Krillin never died to Tambourine, this would be his first death, so Shenron could do it perfectly. Everyone would be brought back, and Vegeta and Krillin would both be returned to Earth with both wishes. This would mean that Kakarot would have to go another year without bringing his parents back. But they did save the day, so it was ultimately worth it. Now what I do want to say is that Yamcha actually had more time alone with King Kai, and not like that. Rather, I think he would use that to his advantage and learn the Kaioken. Nobody else had it by this point, so it would make sense that he should do it. Kakarot would then stand on the lookout, telling Piccolo that he was going to step up and take the role of Earth's Guardian, just like he promised Kami. However, Piccolo would tell him that he wouldn't let him do it alone, stating that he would join him. The two friends and rivals would then become co-Kamis. During this time, Kakarot would also decide to follow up on what he told Raditz about how he wanted more kids to have a stronger legacy. So this would mean that Chi-Chi would get pregnant and 9 months later she would give birth to Goten, although this is over 4 years before it canonically happens. Yamcha would continue to date Bulma, but they would eventually agree that it wasn't working, and Yamcha would continue to train harder. Raditz would search for his purpose in life, as well as coming back to his brother to train from time to time. Once a full year has passed, Kakarot would fly to the lookout, and Piccolo would ask if it was finally time. The Saiyan would nod and bring out the Dragon Balls. Shenron was summoned, and everyone saw him in the sky, heading there as well. This would be a huge moment for Kakarot, so they all had to be there for him. The dragon would ask him to state his wishes, and Kakarot would use his first to transfer the souls of his parents to the lookout. He would then use the second to bring them back to life. Shenron would then say that his wishes were granted as the Dragon Balls scatter and he disappears, leaving Bardock and Guinea standing in front of their two sons. The parents would be in shock, and everyone would stand silent, staring at each other and taking everything in. This would then end when Guinea rushes to hug Kakarot, pulling Raditz in as well. The two hugged their mother back, and Kakarot continued to stare at Bardock. The Saiyan would walk toward him as Guinea stepped away and would smile, shaking his hand. Everyone would cheer and they would all have a celebration. Here, Kakarot would introduce all of his friends and family and tell everything that had happened. During the next 6 months, the two would be fully caught up on all the events, and Bardock would actually be trained by his sons. At the same time, Gine spent time with Chi-Chi, Gohan, and Goten. The family was finally reunited at last, and they were happy too. Bardock and Gine, however, had realized that the Saiyan race needed another female to be able to keep it alive longer. And so they tried to have a third child, which would end up being a girl, but she wouldn't be born just yet. So now I want you guys to interact and come up with a name for her, as well as a personality and certain traits for her in the comments. You can also come up with a cool design for her, and just do whatever. I will decide based on which one is my favorite, or I might just fuse a couple together. But anyway, we've covered a lot in this video, so let's go ahead and end it now. I really hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, it would really help out if you liked and subscribed. We've been building up to this moment for 5 parts now, so I just really want to continue and see what we can do from here. But as always, tell me if you liked this part, tell me what you think will happen next, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.